Wrong thing. Start webinar. Well, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today? We got everybody logging in. Give that a minute. Good morning. Welcome to our advanced tools and tips offered by Orange County Realtors. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to go over using InfoSparks and FastStats to become the market expert. Basically, that is a marketing statistics tool offered to all CRMLS as well as Orange County Realtor members. So we're going to have a little fun with that today. So good morning. Hope everybody can hear me okay. Can you hear me just fine? And by the way, you can write that in the chat if you wish. Thank you very much, Omar. We got a lot of fun stuff to go over today. A very quick, brief presentation, and then we'll go into live demo on how to access this. Real quickly, as we get members to clock in. My name is Anthony. I am your host today and trainer. I work here at Orange County Realtors, been here now for going on 20 years now. Started off in the MLS department. Guaranteed I'll speak to everybody regarding rules, regulations, violations, all that fun stuff. What I'm also involved with is our outreach program. Our outreach program is typically designed to give you training on all your tools and products. So not only do I train on MLS, how to run searches, how to modify listings, create CMAs, all that fun stuff, but I also train on zip forms. I love showing agents how they can utilize their free CAR member benefit to create transactions electronically, how to digitally sign those contracts, and of course, all the advanced tools that Zip Forms has to offer. And of course, I love showing technology. I love showing tools and tech that you as an agent can use to help better your lives and maybe go paperless in your business. And what I mean by that is to maybe not get rid of paper fully, but maybe get rid of enough of it with all these technology tools available on your tablets and your phone devices and things like that, that we can start to eliminate a lot of that extra cost that you don't need nowadays. And to be able to relate to your clients a little bit better. So today, what we're going to go over is your free member benefit called InfoSparks and FastStats. Now, you may ask yourself, well, what is InfoSparks and FastStats? Very simply, it's your OC Realtors and CRMLS benefit that is a statistical data tool. And it shows you the market realities. Now, you as the agent will use this. And what's nice about this tool is that it's 100% MLS data. So that means that what's actually happening in the MLS, market averages, things like this, that you can utilize. There's no other outside influence. But the idea behind something like this is that you can use this data to become the market expert. Okay. And we're going to discuss that a little bit today. Excuse me. And again, we're going to go over a very brief presentation on how to do this. And then we're going to dive into how to access it, how to share it so that you can, that it's branded to you. It's one of those great branding tools that you have available to go over market realities and basically have great conversations. Now, do I have anybody here that's used InfoSparks before? And you can just raise your hand if you want, or you can write it again in chat. By the way, we are recording today's session. So everybody attending today will get a copy of today's recording. Also, if you do have any questions, please feel free to write it in the chat. I'll be more than happy to reread it and answer those questions for you. Also, feel free to email me or call me. My information is here on the first slide, Tony at ocrealtors.org or 949-586-6800 extension 104. Okay, now real quickly, how accurate are the public websites? One of the biggest things and one of the biggest challenges that you as a real estate agent have to deal with are those people who like to go online and obviously think that they know it better than you. right? Nothing ruins your day more than a know-it-all, right? Somebody who knows the business better than you. And yet they're not a real estate expert. They don't even have their real estate license, but geez, I saw it on the internet. It must be true, right? Anybody have those types of clients? Maybe you've come across those types of conversations even at a barbecue at your house, with your friends or family, right? And don't be shy. You could raise your hand to say yes, something like that. Now, reality needs to kick in because, oh, good, Ryan, awesome. I'm glad somebody has those type of experiences. The idea is here. What's known about these estimates? These public websites are free to disclose, or they actually do disclose how inaccurate their information is. So as an example here, to be within 5% of an estimated sales price of a property, what it should have sold for, they're about 83% accurate. To be within 20% of a sales price, they're at 99.5% accurate. Now, if we're talking about off market, like, geez, we estimate your home to be valued at this, to be within 5% of that list price, they're only right 47.1% of the time, dead on. And to be within 20% of a list price, or what it should go for, 91.9%. Now, if we think about this, to be within 20% of a list price, right? To be 99% accurate or about 90% accurate, that can translate to be a lot of money. And by the way, this is not taking into account plus and minus. Plus 20%, minus 20%, that's a 40% gap. So when you go to these websites and they say your home's worth about $1 million plus or minus 20%, that's a $400,000 gap. Let's think about that. Your home estimated value 20% plus or minus, we're about $400,000 off. Now, I don't know about you all, but do you want to listen to somebody that's about $400,000 in their estimated values of your home? Right? Your largest owned asset. And probably in most people's cases, their largest ever owned asset. To be 40% off, to be $400,000 off in those estimated values, that could be quite a bit. This is why the consumer really needs to listen to you, the professional. You have access to the most accurate data at all times. This is why CMAs are highly important. You have access to the MLS. The MLS stresses data accuracy. Your job is to show what people are actually listing their homes for, how fast they're actually getting into escrow, and of course, what they're actually closing for against exact model matches or close to it. To not be 20% off plus or minus, but maybe to be maybe 5, maybe 10% off, if that. And if you look at the records nowadays, you guys are really spot on these values, what people are actually willing to pay because of what people are actually listing at. So this is why the consumer needs to listen to you, the professional, and not somebody else who doesn't have boots on the ground. You can look at and analyze data all day long, but if you don't know exactly what's happening in the market, that data is irrelevant. This is where InfoSparks comes in. Now, how can you as an agent use statistical data? Because anybody here scared of talking about statistics? Because it sounds super complicated, right? Trust me, it's not. It really isn't. It's not going to be. Okay. Now, how you can use this statistical data is to help elevate your online presence, not just your online, but offline presence. You're going to be able to increase your credibility as a real estate professional by showing market realities. And we'll talk a little bit about that. You're going to have better client interactions. And of course, manage expectations by these clients. and potential clients. Now we're going to tackle this in a couple of ways. Number one, how are we going to elevate your online presence or your offline presence? We're going to encourage you to distribute this data. Transparency is availability. For people out there to know that you're a real estate professional, you got to let people know that, right? So one of the things that we're going to encourage you to do is hand it out, talk about it, post it. Why? Because secret agents don't do a lot of business. Anybody here on social media? Quick show of hands. Brian, you're the only person on social media. There we go. Donna, excellent. Malvin, Mario, Matthew, Omar. Good. Everybody's on social media. Excellent. Anybody here not know that you're a real estate agent on social media? Oh, I saw somebody take their hands down. So on your social media, no one knows that you're dealing in real estate. Why not? Why not? 25 to 30% of business dealt or has been performed based on social media by real estate agents. Consumers are finding real estate agents on social media. Why? Because they want to interact with them. They want to get to know them personally, right? Don't be afraid to let people know that you're in the real estate industry. But you got to have things to talk about. So this is talk about stats. This requires you to distribute this information constantly through social media, put it on your blog, put it on your website, even hand it out at an open house. Any of you all doing open houses this weekend? Melvin, I see your hand up. Donna, good. So at an open house, don't just put up or don't just have a property flyer, have statistics about the neighborhood, about the city, about the county. By the way, these stats are updated every month for the prior month, meaning that the numbers that we see today in May are for April. In June, we're going to immediately see May's numbers. Okay. So this is constantly updated. Now, other ways of elevating your online presence, you can apply your personal branding. Okay. You can edit the PDFs. In InfoSparks' case, the PDFs are automatically branded based on your roster information. You're going to be able to promote property stats of the area. Now, there are two types of stats that you can look at, especially when it comes to the FastStats. There's the local market update report, which is a beautiful one-page report outlining all the stats for a given area or region. Or you could do the monthly indicator report, which is a deep dive 15-page report into all the individual stats. Or you could just hang out with InfoSparks and emphasize just one stat. Now, by the way, you can use this either digitally or print versions. Okay. So put them on your website, put it on social media, hand it out at an open house. If you're door knocking today, because it's such a beautiful day outside, because it's only going to be 70 degrees today, a great door knocking opportunity, have something to hand out. It's going to be branded to you. It'll, again, strike up conversation. Now, in striking out a conversation, you're going to be able to increase your credibility because you're going to position yourself as the market expert, whether it's online or print. Okay. By using this 100% pure MLS data, this is going to complement your experience with your clients and your potential clients. And we are giving you the information. You can interpret it however you need it to be. That's a key thing with stats and statistics. If anything has shown us with today's technology world, that it does not matter what information is out there. Each and everybody here today is going to look at this information a bit differently. Some of you will see positives. Some of you will see negatives. And interestingly enough, the way you present the information, whether it's positive or negative, those are the types of clients that you are attracting. Some of you may say that's a doom or gloom. Hey, we're getting ready to go through a recession. Take advantage of this information now, or take advantage of the market right now. What type of clients are you going to attract? those people that need to get out of the market, want to get and cash out at the top dollar because they are scared of what's going to happen to the market. Others, others will look at the positive. Hey, guess what? You've gained equity. Maybe it's a good time to sell. Maybe you're an empty nester and you want to take advantage and you want to pay your kids' college tuition to help lower their debt. Take advantage of today's market because it seems like it's appreciating and you don't want to price yourself out of the market. There you go. You're going to look at these stats. You're going to interpret them. And by the way, the interesting thing about statistics is that you don't have to know every stat. Just knowing one stat can make you the market expert. You get to pick and choose which one you want to focus on and own it. Maybe you even stretch yourself and maybe know 2 or 3. By the way, does this make sense to anybody? Is this over your head? Does it seem okay? Are there any questions? Makes great sense. Good. Thank you, Donna. Oh, we did get a quick question here. It's good. Very clear. Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. Now, you're going to be able to become the expert by answering all these popular questions that I'm sure everybody has been asked at least once or twice, right? Is it a buyer's or seller's market? Well, what stat would you look at? The month supply of inventory, MSI. How do property types compare? Attached or detached? Now you'll notice here, I'm not saying single family versus condo. Why? Here in Orange County, condos can be attached and there are condos detached, just like there are single family detached, but there are also single family attached. Even though single family attached and single family detached still have single family, their price points are vastly different. Usually a single family attached and a condo attached are about the same price point as a condo detached and a single family detached. So when we think about comparing property types, that's something I would, look at here in Orange County. Are prices going up or down? That's the median sales price, MSP. How long will it take me to sell my house? Days on market. How much of my asking price am I going to get? Maybe the percentage of list price being received or percentage of original list price being received. And of course, when do I have the most options as a buyer? You're going to look at inventory. I'm sure most of us here today have at least been asked one, if not all of these questions at some point in time. Well, here, use the stats to help back up your answer. Now, managing expectations of a client, real easy with the various metrics. You're going to look at days on market, the median price, the percentage of original list price being received, inventory, things like this. You're going to impress clients at listing appointments with these market realities. And of course, you're going to be able to, with these stats, in a way, or in a large way, you're providing them the necessary information, education to empower themselves to make a well data-driven decision. Not necessarily an overly emotional decision. With the information, somebody can now feel a little bit more empowered rather than feeling helpless and not feeling like they have any control over their destiny. Now, how does this benefit you and your clients? Well, it's going to benefit you by enhancing your negotiating power. Can you imagine if you happen to know the market a little bit better than maybe the other agent on the other side of the transaction, how better you can negotiate that offer or that deal, right? Or even better yet, how to even negotiate a deal with your client, whether it's a seller or a buyer, right? Because you're going to feel more confident knowing your market. And if you have more confidence in knowing your market, you're going to be able to win them over because they're going to feel more comfortable and more confident in you. Now you're also going. This is also going to benefit you by connecting with these analytical personalities. Anybody here have the analytical client that just loves seeing numbers? There we go, Malvin. There you go. Numbers don't lie. Here you go. Hand them out the numbers. They love seeing that, especially during a CMA. You use maybe RPR. That's got lots of charts and graphs. But here you're going to give them InfoSparks to connect with those people. Now, this is also going to help you guide those emotional decision makers, because we do have emotional clients just the same. But now we're going to help them take emotion and kind of pull it back just a little bit, because the numbers don't lie. We're going to help them understand that it's okay if you don't sell your home in 6 days when the average is 15 or 20 days on the market. It's okay. Let's wait. Let's see what happens. It's going to be fine. Which ultimately is going to reduce not only your client's anxiety, but ours as well. I know everybody attending here today takes on their client's emotions. Anybody? Anybody here ever lose sleep because, geez, you're worried about why an offer is not getting accepted, or, why that home, didn't get into escrow that very first weekend right now? I see Melvin. Good. Knowing your numbers, knowing these stats, you're going to put people's minds at ease. You're going to put yourself at ease. Hey, this is what to expect. This is what I know I need to strategize for, and to help my client strategize. Excuse me. My allergies are starting to kick in. All right. Now, real quickly, anybody know the difference between a buyer's market, seller's market, and balanced market? Come on. Fathom a guess. Anybody here know what the difference between a seller's market, buyer's market, and a balanced market is? Michelle? Matthew? Brian? Anybody? Buyer's market, more inventory. That's part of it, Donna. Exactly. So you're right there. It's all about supply and demand, right? Basic for any business. This is not anything new at all, right? Real estate's got it. Stores have it, right? Shoe stores, grocery stores. What we're experiencing today, supply and demand. Yes, based on supply and demand. Excellent answer, Ryan. Okay. So what makes it a seller's market here for real estate? Well, that's basically when you have very low inventory, high demand, prices ultimately start to skyrocket and start to see those high peaks, right? Now, what's interesting here is that in the United States, throughout the entire United States, a seller's market is considered anything less than 5 months worth of inventory. Now, funny enough, here in Orange County, we are a microclimate. And what I mean by that is that we have our own little niche here in Orange County, California, compared to the rest of the United States, even compared to the rest of California. Okay. Now, usually what's interesting about us here in Orange County, because our market is always super hot, always interesting, because usually what happens here first before it happens everywhere else. As a matter of fact, our microclimate, we are the initial place where, or the epicenter of where the pebble drops in that water, and then everything else ripples out. Now, funny enough, our seller's market here in Orange County is actually less than 3 months worth of inventory. So for the United States, it's 5 months, less than 5 months, but in Orange County, it's less than 3. Now, a buyer's market is when you have way more supply than the demand to take that supply off. Usually what happens in a buyer's market is that prices immediately start to sharply drop. So we now all of a sudden see deep valleys. Now, what dictates a buyer's market in the United States is when you have more than 6 months worth of inventory in the MLS. Because we're Orange County, this is more than 4 months. Now, a balanced market is when you have enough supply that meets enough demand that inventory comes often on the market at a steady pace. So you're not going to, in a balanced market, get these sharp peaks and these deep valleys. What you should have is steady appreciation, which ideally everybody wants to see, because when things are steady and predictable, it makes it for everybody's lives easier. Now, what dictates a balanced market in the United States is between 5 to 6 months worth of inventory. Here in Orange County, it's between 3 and 4 months of inventory. So we're going to look at inventory right now, because not every county is the same. Not every city, not every area within a city is the same. You could have a general seller's market in all of Orange County, but it might be a buyer's market or a balanced market, say in Newport Beach or Irvine or Mission Viejo. So we can look at those types of different markets to see these different areas on how they're affected with their inventory, because prices are all going to be dictated by that. By the way, are there any questions on that? Pretty simple, right? Granted, this is why baby formula is up, toilet paper went up, right? Not enough supply, right? To meet the demand. Everybody needed to have paper products during the beginning of COVID. Some of us probably stocked 7 or 8 months worth of toilet paper. And, the past year, we've been kind of steadily not buying any extra, right? Kind of the same thing here. Homes aren't being listed, or they are being listed. We're going to keep an eye out on this. All right. Now you're going to be able to support your recommendations. You're going to compare the local numbers to the regional numbers. So this is how this stacks up. The CMA says this home compared to other homes in the neighborhood that are like this home. But now you can use these stats, InfoSparks, to compare this home to other homes in the immediate area of the city that they live in. And how does this home stack up to the other homes within the entire city? And of course, how this home stacks up to the rest of the county. So you can start comparing these different numbers, right? Do you live in a more expensive neighborhood compared to everybody outside your neighborhood? And of course, in the rest of the city, and of course, in the city that you reside in that county. Ultimately, you're going to be able to dive deeper niches into your niche markets. Okay. You're going to be able to display and emphasize the stats to your target market, right? Again, how you interpret the information are the types of clients that you're going to interact with, right? So using the statistical data, you're going to be able to emphasize how this is going to affect that market that you are specifically targeting to, whether it's the empty nester market, whether it's the short sale market, whether it's the REO market, whether it's the doomsayers market, or the positive market, investor market, whatever you want. Because each and every one of you, again, markets a little bit differently to enhance your personal business. Imagine you're going to answer those emotional points of price forecasting, because you're going to look at these trends, because you're going to be able to look back maybe 5 to 20 years to show ups and downs. Things could be normal. Things could be expected. Things could be predictable. So you're basically saying the trend is your friend. This is how we're going to be able to ride that wave, right? We're going to be the surfers to ride out this tough market. Or maybe, it's a great time to be on top of this wave to take advantage before we come back down. And how do we come back down? Easy or rough? Do we fall off the board, or do we come down nice and smooth and land on the beach? Now, how are you going to do this? You're going to do this through your personal marketing. Support your business and yourself. Compare yourself to the rest of the market averages. Like maybe, Donna, are you a listing agent? Or have you listed a listing before? Good. And I'm going to ask, looking at, how fast are you on average selling your homes right now? Less than a week, 2 weeks? 5 days. Okay, perfect. So maybe Donna puts together a marketing plan about how well she can sell her properties within 5 days, where the market averages are between 7 and 10. Maybe somebody should talk to her about, if you want a quick sale and you want a grid pricing strategy, talk to me. I can sell your home in 5 days versus, again, the market averages of 7 to 10. You're going to be innovative with these stats. What I mean by that is that you're going to be able to produce your own content. Some of you in your marketing like to post things on social media. Maybe you do door knocking materials. Maybe you do open house materials. Maybe you even do a video marketing campaign where you're sitting in front of the camera talking once a month about the market averages. You're going to be able to produce your own content. One of the biggest challenges when it comes to social media and online marketing is coming up with content unique for you. Sure, you can hire out 5 other businesses to come up with this information, but then that information that company has come up with is a template boilerplate thing that they do for every other agent. There is nothing unique about you versus anybody else when you're using these third-party companies. If you're doing most of this yourself, which most of us are, because, hey, it costs money to hire somebody else to do it. But you know what? It doesn't cost me a dime to sit in front of my camera with a nice little microphone that I can be easily heard at, look at the stats that are online, and just spout off my opinion about what I see. By the way, know your stuff, because it's going to show. If you're handing out statistical data, right? Whatever stat you're handing out, maybe you're handing out all of them. If somebody asks you about it and you can't answer what it is, or that question about what you're handing out, that's going to shoot your credibility right in the foot. Right, Leo? If I asked you, what does this mean? And your first answer is, I'm not sure. That right there is, you've lost the client. Is there a link for the slides? Elisa, I can make sure that you get a copy of these slides. Sure. Shoot me an email and I'll be more than happy to forward this slide deck to you. By the way, as you're handing out statistical information, and this is something that's really interesting nowadays, whether you're handing it out, talking about it online, whatever, you're going to start to create an influential reputation. And that influential reputation is, you're a person that knows their stuff. You're an educated, well-informed real estate agent and a real estate professional. Especially here in California, when 3 out of 4 people living in California have a real estate license, though not all practice. 250,000 agents who are Realtor members, right? 85% of them don't know their information. 85% of them don't really do business very well. We need to be above that. And how do we do that? We start talking about information. We start presenting it. We start giving that information out to now all of a sudden develop this reputation that organically happens, because when people start to look at these things and to go, wow, Omar was right about this. Wow, I like what Omar had to say about the median sales price. Wow, he's a great agent based on his knowledge. Now, all of a sudden, I talk about it with my friends, my family, my other colleagues who are now going to check him out. And again, based on this influential reputation that you're developing for yourself, you're going to strengthen your negotiating power, not only with other agents, but with sellers, with buyers, future clients, and the community. And this is going to allow you to own your market segments in your local areas. And before you know it, you're going to be an agent that can sell anywhere in the state of California. Because the more you get to put out information about what's happening in various different areas that you begin to market, your business is going to grow and grow and grow. Who doesn't like that? Exactly. Nobody doesn't like that. They all want that, right? You guys want to be the next billionaire, right? All right. So now that I've lectured you enough, how do we access these stats? Well, very simple. We're going to go log right into CRMLS. First, we're going to talk about InfoSparks, and then we're going to demonstrate FastStats a little bit too. So the first thing that I want to go to is log into the MLS system. To access FastStats, we're going to be able to do that in one of two ways. We can, from the home screen of the MLS, come down below to where it says external links, or to the external links widget, come down below and click on InfoSparks here. Or at the very top, we're going to go to the links tab. Under the links tab, this is going to display all of our third-party member benefits offered to us by CRMLS. And we're going to scroll right on down this entire list to where it says InfoSparks. Now, when I click on the little icon next to InfoSparks here, InfoSparks is going to open up. Now, there's a couple of things that we're going to see here right away that are going to be super cool, super neat. Okay. Number one, we're looking at here at the top left corner, we're looking at data for the entire MLS. Now, you may or may not know this, but the MLS system has more than 200,000 plus listings in its database available going back 20 years. Even though we're only displaying the last 5 or 6 years, just know that this is how they're coming up with their trends, their market area. Down below that, we have filters that are preset for us. We're looking at all property types, attached and detached on all sides, all bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage. More importantly, down below to the bottom right side corner, we're seeing the first stat here of the sales price, the median sales price. And we see that the median sales price in the entire MLS database is $818,000, up 13% from April of 2021. Now, how many of you think that that is super low given the price market that you're currently in? Right? Exactly. I see a few hands there. Okay. That is because we're looking at the entire MLS. Our entire MLS is not just Orange County. It's LA County, San Bernardino, San Diego, LA County, Riverside County, Palm Springs, La Quinta, Fresno, East Bay, which is up near San Francisco. We've got all this data because, as you know, CRMLS's stretch is pretty far. So we need to narrow this down just a little bit. Now, how do we narrow this down? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my mouse over to the top left corner where it says entire MLS. I'm going to click on the little down arrow. Now, here under the down arrow, we can now look at information by city, by MLS area, by county, by zip code, by school districts, even my areas. Now, my areas are searched areas or mapped areas that I've placed on a map, which we'll talk about here in just a little bit. But if I wanted to look at a particular county, I can click on county. Now, with my cursor blinking here at the top left corner, I can now type in the county that I want to pull statistical data for. In this case, Orange, and I'm going to select Orange County. Now we see here that in Orange County, the median sales price now updates to be $1,060,000, up 19.1% from a year ago, which still seems kind of low. Why is that? Because here are the filters. We're looking at both attached and detached properties merged together. Well, maybe Mario only likes dealing with detached properties in Orange County, right? Bigger price points. Well, we can now select the filter detached. And now we see here that the chart immediately changes that in Orange County for detached properties, the median sales price is $1.35 million, up 23.3% from a year ago. So just on one stat alone, we could tell somebody that in 1 year's time, your property has increased in Orange County, if it's a detached home, about 23%. If we look on this line graph, just to the left here, next to this median sales price number that we see to the far right, we can move our mouse and we can immediately see that in April 2022, the median sales price was 1.3. But then as we move our mouse along this line graph, we're going to see what March's number was at 1.32. Then in January, it was at 1.2. So even if you bought your home in January this year, you've gained $150,000 in your home value. If we move our line or our mouse all the way back to April of 2021, the median sales price in Orange County in 2021 was $1,095,000. So if you bought your home in Orange County last year for just over $1 million, you've gained 23%, almost $300,000 in home equity in just 1 year's time. If you bought your home back in 2017, you bought your home for $775,000. You've gained almost $700,000 in equity in just 5 years' time. Anybody here bought their home back in 2017? Isn't that crazy? We just see that this chart keeps going up, 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 up. Anybody like that? Now, by the way, we're just looking at county. If you wanted to, you can even look by the city. Here, select city and type in the city. Name a city that anybody wants to know about. Or anybody curious about? Anyone? Aliso Viejo. Perfect. So here, Aliso Viejo. We now select the city. We see here, median sales price detached 1.2. So you live in a much cheaper city compared to the rest of the county at 1.35. Oh, I see Ryan here wants to know about Irvine. Well, we'll compare that here in a second, which is a great segue. So, Ryan, are you an agent that just markets in one city? You probably market in what, several, right? Irvine being one of those. Well, here, what we can do is we're going to compare multiple cities to each other. So back over here towards the top left corner, next to that one city of Aliso Viejo, you'll notice that there's a choice here that says add an area. If I click on add an area, I can now, again, select a city, type in that city, select it, and now we're going to compare the detached market of Aliso Viejo versus Irvine. So if you're marketing in different areas, we can now show how these different cities stack up against each other. Here in Irvine, the median sales price in April was 1.74, up 35.5%, compared to Aliso Viejo's 1.2. So we can say if you're selling your home in Irvine, you might be able to buy a property all cash based on your equity or have a nice substantial down payment because of the increase in your home value. If you bought back in April of 2017 in Irvine, you were paying $972. Today, you've gained, what is it, $800,000 in equity? Which, if you were thinking about living in Aliso Viejo because you want more of a yard, you know, better community, whatever, you can at least afford that area still. And it's still on the rise. Now, by the way, we can compare up to 4 things side by side, whether they're city to city, whether they're area to city, what have you. So maybe we compare another city, I don't know, Lake Forest. And maybe we could go with another one here, Oh, I don't know. San Clemente. So now what we could do is compare all these different markets that we're marketing in just to see what their price points are. San Clemente has gained home values by 41.8% compared to a year ago versus Irvine's 35.5. So these have the highest appreciation, but the other cities nearby are on their way up too. And you know what? I don't have to compare cities to cities. I can just compare areas within the city. So like the city of Irvine, but what's a nice area in Irvine? Maybe Turtle Rock or Turtle Ridge, right? Or maybe Woodbridge. So now I can compare statistics, not only in the city, but the areas within those cities. Here, Turtle Rock is at 2.68, whereas the rest of Irvine's at 1.7. So if you live in Turtle Rock, you have very expensive homes, which their values have actually dropped by almost 5% compared to a year ago. But everybody else in Irvine has gone up 35%. Why is that? Well, you're almost $3 million, whereas everybody else is at 1.8, 1.7. So it's cheaper to live anywhere else in Irvine than Turtle Rock. Anybody like this so far? Now, another way that you can utilize these charts, utilizing these filters, you can compare how bedroom types compare. Here, what I could do is come over to this chart and click on this two-way arrow next to this filter, which now selects all the choices in that filter. And we see here, and I'll take that one out, that in Irvine, the detached market of the different types of bedrooms compare. So 2-bedroom properties are up 27.7% at 962,000. So maybe if you were in a starter home or starter property, starting your family, but now you've grown out of it, but still want to live in the city of Irvine and you need to move up to a 3-bedroom, just know that it's about a $500,000 or $600,000 increase. Maybe what you're selling today, which is great, you're going to need to make sure that you have enough for a down payment or a decent down payment for that 3 or 4-bedroom property in Irvine. Now, by the way, we're just looking at one stat, the sales price. Why are these home prices so high? You may ask yourself. Well, geez, Tony, why are they so high? Well, let's look at the active listing inventory. The active listing inventory in Irvine as of April was 162 properties, down 27% from a year ago. So again, if we look at this chart and we go back to April of 2021, there was 223 properties for sale. So in a quick way, if we look at that median sales price in April, we're at 1.284. Now we're up to 1.47 or 1.74. And it's because our inventory or not as many active properties are currently listed. We can look at the number of pending sales. 133 properties are in escrow, down 24%. Why is that? Well, maybe because it's less affordability, less desirable because it's too expensive in Irvine. We go to the number of closed sales, successful close of 147, down 31%. Why is that? Maybe lending issues, maybe down payment issues. Let's see here. Ryan asks, I'm sorry, where is the active listing tab? Oh, sure. Down below at the very bottom, underneath the line graph here, we've got several other graphics or stats that we can look at. I chose the one that says active listings here, Ryan. We've also got pending sales and closed sales. You're welcome. We can even look at days on market. Crazy enough here, days on market, 7 days. No change in one year. 7 days to get 1.7 million compared to last year at 1.2. Kind of crazy. Whereas years before, like 2017, April, it took 14 days to get into escrow. Up to 52 days back in 2018. That was just 4 years ago. Here you go, month supply of inventory. This one is kind of crazy, 1.2 months worth supply of inventory. So my general question is it a buyer's or seller's market here in the city of Irvine? Anybody? Seller's market, that's right. We're at 1.2, but look, if we look at this line graph, just a mere month ago, we had less than a month, 0.9. As a matter of fact, beginning of the year, we are at 0.7. 0.7 months worth supply of inventory. Kind of amazing. We were in a severe hot seller's market. And in just a mere 4 months time, we've grown by 0.5 months. But we're still in a seller's market, but it's not as severe as it was 5 months ago or 4 months ago. Now, by the way, how is month supply of inventory figured out? Month supply of inventory is figured out by the number of active listings or current inventory on the market divided by the number of listings getting into escrow. So based on those two numbers, that should give you your month supply of inventory. Now, what does month supply of inventory mean? Means that if there were no new listings being added onto the market today, based on how many properties are going off the market, how fast you would eat through that current supply. So in this case, 162 properties at 103 properties getting into escrow, it should take about 1 month, and a few extra days to go through those 162 homes. That's if there were no new listings added on at our current rate of absorption. That sounds really scary, right? Does that help anybody understand month supply of inventory? But you can see here how we can utilize various different charts to be able to explain what we are seeing in the market, right? Obviously, if we like to look at the active inventory, whether it's in the county or it's in the city, right? And we're looking at the attached or detached market. This is kind of scary. Inventory is down by 18% in all of Orange County at 2,066 detached listings for sale. But in previous years, just last year, we were at 2,464 or 5,499 just 3 years ago. So our current inventory is less than half of what it was 3 years ago, which is super scary. Now, we'll probably have conversations like, why? Well, could be interest rates, refis, or, hey, finding a tough time finding replacement homes. So now, is there a class to learn how to analyze this data? Well, that's kind of what we're doing right now, Melvin. I'm showing you how you can look at this, kind of analyze it based on your personal interpretation, because my interpretation is from me, not from anybody else. I look at this and I go, look at these types of trends. When we are looking back 5 years, the ups and downs, where might you see, based on your experience, you see the market going? That's basically what I base my interpretation on. Now, obviously, are we all going to be like the Stephen Thomases, the Gary Wattses, the Mr. Lawrences of the world, where they're financial experts, where they analyze not only MLS data, but the stock market and the interest rates or anything? No. But at least you can predict, based on some of that information that you're getting, where you see where your market's headed. The idea behind this is to move people from those newspapers. Newspaper articles are about 3 to 6 months behind. So by the time they're writing about it, putting it on the newspaper, it's old news, right? Again, you guys have the finger on the heartbeat of what's going on right now actively. Does that help, Melvin? So now, real quickly, how do we get this information out? How do we get this information out there to the world? Now, by the way, if you don't like the line graph, right, because maybe there are too many sharp peaks and valleys that you see here, because a lot of times when people start to see these sharp ups and downs, especially changing from month to month, they kind of freak out a little bit. Well, we're going to help you smooth this out just a little bit. How do we do that? Here on the line graph, just off to the right here, in between the filter and the actual number based on the stat, you have a little choice here that says monthly. The monthly says that you're looking at a month-to-month change, right? Which one month it could be high, another month it could be low, this, that, and the other. Now here, what we can do is click on the down arrow and say, I want a rolling 3 months. Now, rolling 3 months means that when I look at April's numbers, I'm actually rolling this into April, March, February. If I'm looking at March numbers, it's March, February, January. If I'm looking at January's numbers, it's January, December, November. So what this begins to do is it begins to start to smooth out the line. So here you notice that looking at a month-to-month change, we got a sharp peak and valley, but then when we start doing the rolling 3 months, it starts to smooth it out. If I do a rolling 6 months, it smooths out that line a little bit further. And of course, the rolling 12 months really smooths out this line. What you're doing is you're not showing such volatility in the market using a line graph. You're showing that steady increase or decrease of the market. Now, by the way, we're also looking at a 5-year trend. So 2022 to 2017. If you wanted to, you could also just say, I just want to see what changes have happened just for 1 year, 3 years, or maximum. Now, the maximum, I think, is 2008. So what is that? 14 years. So we see here back in 2008, April was 795. Then we had the big old dip because of the market crash, the recession. I tell agents, our market bottomed out in 2008, 2009. Here it looks like it, at least in the city of Irvine, bottomed out in 2012. 675 for a detached property. Look at where you're at today. Kind of amazing, right? Got some nice equity out of your home. Okay, but here you got that line graph. Now, if you're not into line graphs, not a problem. Switch it from a line graph to a bar graph. Now, what I personally like about the bar graph, especially when it comes down to sharing this information, I love the fact that it compares this year of April, tells you its previous year change, what that number is. Then it shows April of 2021 and April 2021's number changed from 2020 and what their number was, and then going back to 2020. So we see here that since April 2020, when the median sales price for a detached property in the city of Irvine was $1,085,000, today it's 1.74. So if you bought your home just 2 years ago, you have more than $700,000 in equity. What is the definition of closed sides? Closed sides are dealing with buyers and sellers. So the closed side of a transaction, are you dealing with the seller side? Are you dealing with the buyer side of the transaction itself? In this case, the total closed sides. How many listings closed for both sellers and buyers? So in this case, there were 294 closed, total closed sides for agents versus the number of closed sales in total based on the inventory was 147. But this is pretty amazing. You had more closed sales in Irvine last year at 216 versus this year at 147. Why is that? Probably because of the affordability. Prices are, $500,000 more than they were a year ago. Who can afford that? Not many people. And of course, inventory. You had 223 properties last year versus 162 this year. So you had 60 more properties, or 61 properties up for sale. Now this is crazy. Back in 2020, there were 424 properties up for sale. So you're a little less than 300 properties lower than you were a year ago or 2 years ago. That's a huge substantial change. Dropped by 50% last year. And then of course we dropped another 30% from the year before. Now I like these bar graphs. Now, when it comes to the bar graphs, I love using this for when we share. So we want to distribute out this information, right? We want to get it out there to the world. We want to talk about it. We want to interpret it, right, Malvin? So how do we do that? We're going to go to share. Here to share, we can create a PDF document or a link for our email or even PDF as well of the static report. Just simply click on share. And now we get a nice little URL. Now we can copy and paste that for our social media post or on the PDF document, or let's just view it as a PDF so we can download it and share it. Now, what I love about InfoSparks here is that you'll immediately see my branded information. Now, the branded information here at the very top is all pulled from your roster data in the MLS. Now, how do you make sure that your roster is up to date? Go under Add Edit. And under Add Edit, go to the section that says Roster, which is found underneath where it says Listings. Under the Roster section, go to where it says Quick Modify Agent/Office ID. Click in the white box there and put in your user ID for the MLS. Whoops, wrong one. Then when you say Edit, from here, you can upload a photo of yourself. You can make sure that your contact information is all up to date. So like your email address, your website, your phone numbers are all up to date. That way, when you're making a chart on InfoSparks, this data is referenced. And what I like about this with that bar graph, it's easy for people to understand. Now, by the way, if you have PDF editors like Word or Pages or Google Docs, You could actually download this PDF and then import it or input it on that type of word editing software, or even PowerPoint or Keynote. Make the PDF document into a picture file, shrink it, and now you put in multiple stats on one page. Maybe one page or one side of the sheet of paper is the property flyer of the home that you have for sale. But on page 2, you're going to put in some statistical reports. Now, all of a sudden, you're giving even more data over to be able to give information to educate people about what's going on in the markets. Now, besides the social media PDF static report, anybody here have their own personal websites? Maybe you work at a company that's designed one for you as part of being a realtor member with them, or maybe you've purchased a template website that you're creating for yourself. Anybody have those? Your basic central hub for marketing, where you want everybody to go to get information. Nobody's got their own personal website? Oh, good. Donna, you got one, right? Donna, I'm going to ask, do you have on your property or on your personal website information of the IDX feed? The IDX feed basically indicating to people what's up for sale. Chances are probably yes, right? Unfortunately, do not, but will now. Okay. So part of your personal website is that you're going to usually have information about yourself, how to contact you, right? But then you're going to have pages of IDX or with the IDX fed information, right? Maybe by city. Hey, here are the properties available for sale in or for lease in Irvine, Lake Forest, Aliso Viejo, right? But then you have to ask yourself, well, what makes you stand out from any other agent, right? 91,000 agents out there, part of CRMLS. A majority of them do have their property webs or personal websites, but most all of them all say the same things, right? I buy and sell real estate in Orange County, LA County, Riverside County. I work with first-time home buyers. Here, click on this page to see what's up for sale. That's great, but what makes you stand out? This is going to help you do that. Here, what we can also do is create embeddable links to be posted on our personal website. So what we can now do is have a stat or several stats on our website. Now, here's the cool thing. You'll notice here that it says static. I'm embedding a link that I can now put on my personal website for maybe the city of Irvine. But then a month later, I now need to go in and generate a new one, right? I got to go back in here, pick the stat again, look at the June numbers, get a new link, then send it over to my web designer, have them upload it, right? Does that sound like a lot of work for us? Yes, it does, right? Instead, if we're going to embed a link onto our personal website, you're going to make it live. So you're going to say, I want a live embeddable link for my website. Now, what's cool about that is that, yes, today we are seeing April's numbers, but then in the month of June, when the June numbers update for the May information, my website, because this link is now going to produce live data, is now going to be automatically updated with the May numbers. So yes, today the clients are or potential clients are going to see April's numbers, but then come next month, they're going to see the updated numbers for May. And then in July, they're going to automatically see the updated numbers for June. So ideally, my website is now giving data content to potential clients. So not only am I going to have on that Irvine web page of my personal website, smack dab in the middle, all the active properties listed for sale, but maybe I work with my web designer to give them several different links of all the different little stats here to put on the left and the right of the listings, talking about the median sales price and the active inventory and the days on market and percentage of list price being received. So now all of a sudden, what am I? Am I more than just a real estate agent? The answer is yes. I'm now a data information provider. And part of that is as I redirect people to my website and they start to see all the statistical data for all the various different cities that I can do this for, now all of a sudden I become a central hub of educational data. I am not only just a real estate agent, but I'm an educated real estate agent, market expert. Anybody like this? Good, Donna. Awesome. Anybody scared of it using any of this information? Good. No hands are raised. Excellent. Yay. All right. A couple of extra things here. One of the things that we could also do is use my areas. Now, my areas are basically mapped out areas of content. Really good for when you're marketing a particular neighborhood. Typically, you'll notice here there's nothing in the list of stats here or the possible filters that says my neighborhoods or neighborhoods. Okay. This is where the my areas are going to help you. Now, for us to define an area, very simply, on the dark blue bar here near the top, next to where it says InfoSparks, we're going to come over here to where it says my areas. So we actually have to create the mapped out areas as if we were doing a map search in the MLS. From here, when we go to my areas, we're going to see a map of basically all of California. What we're now going to do is we're going to locate an area. So maybe we know an address like, oh geez, let me pull up one. Nordina, Huntington Beach, California. Now from here, we see that it's located on the map. So now what I need to do is I'm going to zoom in on my map on this little map pin. Now, what's cool about this is that I know my neighborhood boundaries. How do I know that? Maybe I've talked to my title rep to get the track boundaries of my neighborhood. Now, knowing those track boundaries, now what I'm going to do is I'm now going to draw either a circle or a polygon around those streets. Now I'm going to save this information. Now, in saving it, I'm now going to create my area. So in this case, maybe I know the tract name is, Daffy Duck Neighborhood. Or actually, community. There we go. It's the Daffy Duck Community, the DDC. Now I'm going to say save. Now, when I hit save, it's going to analyze my area. It's going to say you've drawn a 0.2 square mile region. There are 466 properties or data to pull information from. Now I'm going to hit close. So now how do I see the statistical data in this region? Well, I'm going to go back to InfoSparks. And now when I come over here to that top left corner and I click on my down arrow, I'm now going to select my areas, which will now have all my created areas that I've made. And I'm going to find that Daffy Duck community. And we're going to see here in the Daffy Duck community that the median sales price in the Daffy Duck community is at 1.3 million as of March of 2022. So they had no April numbers. Why? Because they had no sale numbers. But at least in March, they had a median sales price of 1.3 versus March of last year at 1.7. Maybe I look at that active inventory list and see that there's only 3 properties in the Daffy Duck community, up 200% from a year ago, where they only had 1. But the idea behind this is that I can now give neighborhood statistical data. Maybe on my website, maybe in my social media posts, maybe in my door knocking endeavors. Anybody like this? No one likes this? Okay, a couple extra things here that we'll also go over today. Let's look at, the market view. Anybody here want to know who their competition is in the city or region that they're working in? Or maybe you want to know who the top agent, top dog is, or where you stand. Anybody kind of curious about that? Market view is good, nice. Here in the market view, maybe what we can do or what we can do is look at the agents. Okay. And from here, what we can now do is maybe select that city. So like Aliso Viejo, select the city, and we can now see that the top agent in Aliso Viejo, and we'll say not for month to month, but for the past year, 12 months. So the top agent is Cameron at 50 units or 50 sales, both on the listing side and the buying side. And his closed volume is $43 million in closed sales. Followed up by a close second by Chessie Pagano at 17 units total at 26 million. A huge gap between first and second, but we can see who the top agent is in that area. Now, some of these you'll notice here only have 1 or 2 sales, and they're in the top 100. Do you think you can get at least 1 or 2 sales to be ranked number 100 out of 30,000 agents in Orange County, 15,000 agents with just Orange County realtors? Of course. There's always room for you to buy and sell property. But at least it's a nice little bar to make sure that you're in line with your marketing action plan, or not your marketing, your business plan for the year, your 3-year goals, your 5-year goals. Real quickly here, besides InfoSparks, FastStats. Love FastStats. FastStats here, under the InfoSparks section, we can look at any region in California to look at statistical data. Here under the local market update reports, we can look at a beautiful 1-page document outlining all those stats. Now, these usually are updated around the 12th to 15th of the month. Now, what I like about this is that we're here in Southern California, right? Now, if we go to Southern California, look how big Orange County is compared to the immediate surrounding counties. And yet we are the one area that dictates what happens to the rest of the state. Our little niche here in our little world, we are that microclimate determined central spot of what's happening. So here, if I go to Orange County to look at the statistical report or the FastStats report, we now get a lovely 1-page report. And unfortunately, it still shows March's numbers, not April's. This should be, oh, that's because it hasn't been updated yet. We get to see all the stats on 1 page. Here, new listings, pending sales, closed sales, single family versus condo. Okay, we've got that here. What's nice about this is that we can then download this, re-upload it, convert it into a picture file, and rebrand it with our personal branding. Maybe we have a PDF editor. Now we're going to add in our phone numbers, email addresses, all of our first point of contact to now make it our own, which, by the way, CRMLS and Orange County encourage you to do. For those of you who want to dive into a deeper understanding of the niche market, by the way, Mid-Southern, we can look at Los Angeles County's one-page stat. There we go. We can even look at Northern California numbers. Even though they don't necessarily data share, 10K, who develops these reports for us, gives us access to every county in the state of California. So these FastStats, we can show how other counties compare to ours. The monthly indicator report. The monthly indicator report, when we go here, we're going to select Orange County Realtors. And now we're going to get a detailed, heavily detailed 15-page report of all the stats. Yes, we have on page 1 what's happening in the nation and how Orange County stacks up to that. The detached numbers versus the attached. And of course, the combined. We see here that, and again, I see that it's still not updated for the month of April, but we get to see new listings versus pending sales this year versus last year, market change percentages, median sales price, 1,025,000 compared to 1.32 in the month of March, up 28%. Come down below, we see that attached market, 575, now 716, up 24.5%. Pretty amazing on how much these numbers change, right? But then by page 4, we're actually diving into the individual stat itself. So here we get to see a 3-year change for attached and detached markets, all their individual numbers. But what I love about this by page 4 is that we get to see information going back to 2003, the ups and downs of the market. Remember that trend is your friend. Like new listings coming on the market, you'll notice here, every year it begins with low inventory. And then by mid-year, we hit our peak. And then by the end of the year, it starts to drop off. If we look here, we had that little hiccup in 2020. Why? COVID. But then look what happened. Very quickly, did it go right back up to people wanting to list their homes. If it wasn't for that little hiccup from March to May, we would have had a normalized market. Here we go. We can look at those pending sales. I know everybody talks about recession and what might happen to home prices, this, that, and the other. But look at this. Let's look at the median sales price. The median sales price here today over 1.2, as we saw 1.3 today in the month of April. Back in 2003, it was just over $400,000. Then by mid 2007, 2008, we had that bubble pop, right? $750,000 was the median sales price. And then the bubble pop happened. Now, a lot of experts will say 2012 was when everything hit rock bottom, right? Well, that was for the rest of the country. But here in Orange County, our rock bottom was in 2009. But what's interesting about this is that if you look at the bottom of 2009 compared to the bottom of 2003, 2009 did not drop past 2003's lower number. So what does this tell you as a potential agent to a client? Yes, we'll go through ups and downs in our market, but hopefully we will never drop below the previous downturn. Then since 2009, we've just steadily increased in our home prices. As a matter of fact, between 2020 and 2022, it's just skyrocketed. Now, I know a lot of people go, oh gosh, that must mean it's a bubble pop, right? Wait a minute. Let's compare these, right? Because again, with a PDF editor, I can compare these charts side by side. and we're going to compare the inventory. If I can get to the inventory, come on. Inventory says something vastly different. And we'll zoom in here just a little bit more so you can see this. Back in 2003, the detached inventory was over 4,000 listings, which made it what? $440,000 as the median sales price. Then by 2007, 2008, we had inventory over 12,000 listings on the market in the MLS at $750,000. Then the bubble pop happened, right? Remember, back down below almost $480,000, $490,000 in 2009. Look at how many properties were in 2009, over 8,000. Look at where we're at today. We are barely clearing 2,000 properties on the market for the detached market. So in a way, even though it's started to steadily increase, has it? One can say that even from the previous bubble pop, we are what? A sixth of what we were at the last recession. So in a way, what's got our home prices so high is this very low lack of inventory. Now, is that something to keep an eye on? Obviously. If people start to list their properties more and more and more and more, where that inventory number grows, then yes, something's going to have to give, which would probably more than likely be the sales price. But until that number starts to go up, this is what's kind of keeping that number so high as it is. Again, these are great things to talk about, great things to have conversation on. Some of you, again, now this is just my personal interpretation, but again, you can look at these numbers and interpret them however you see fit. If you do see another recession happening and a bubble pop happening, maybe you do talk about it. Or maybe you go, hey, I am confident that until that inventory rises, home prices are probably not going to drop sharply like we expect. It might level off, but however you see fit. Are there any questions about anything that we've gone over today? Have I overwhelmed you? Have I given you a drink out of the fire hose? Or am I the water fountain that just slowly drips it out? Yes, Michelle. You have a question? Or were you just raising your hand because you're overwhelmed? Well, I want to say thank you to everybody. If there are no questions, I want to thank everybody for attending today. I know we're finishing up a little bit early, but if you all don't have any questions, I want to thank you all. The biggest thing I could say is try it out, try sharing it, look at it, open it up. I think it'll be a very useful tool, especially nowadays when those people who are out there saying that they don't need to market, they're going to find themselves into trouble really quick. I think no matter what, whether it's a good industry, bad industry, marketing has to be consistent. You have to always stay top of mind. And I think, using tools like this might help you stay top of mind when everybody else is all of a sudden struggling to find out ways of marketing themselves. If you are already doing this and you begin to see traction, trust me, when that wave starts to come down, you're going to be able to ride that wave out to still land smoothly and still have a successful business. Oh, thank you, Donna. Great learning more. Great learning more on how to use the InfoSparks and FastStats. Good. I'm so glad, Donna. I hope this encourages you to at least use it. I want to say that at least the 15,000 agents part of Orange County, we've only got less than 1,000 people using these tools. So definitely, take advantage of that. I mean, less than 1% are using this tool, and yet more than 30% are asking they wish they had something to give to talk about data. Here it is. I think this is a real great advantage that you should take advantage of and help develop your content. No problem, Michelle. I will email you. Thank you very much for the email. I'll write that down here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're welcome. I'm glad you all enjoyed. If you do have any questions or any concerns, please feel free to either call me or email me. And my number is 949-586-6800. My extension is 104. Or feel free to call me or email me at Tony, Tony, at ocrealtors.org. With that said, again, thank you all very, very much. Hopefully I'll see you this afternoon for our next two classes. One on marketing of the properties using your free property website creator called Rela. And then we'll finish out the day later this afternoon at about 3:30, 4 o'clock using your electronic business card plus called Savvy Card. So hopefully I get to see you all again regarding that. And with that said, I hope you all have a great and wonderful lunch, and I'll talk to you soon.